Okay, so first thing first, let's take on your trades for the week, for the day, I mean, and see what you're looking at. So,
Anyone else have difficulty? Sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying, did anyone else have difficulty with this? A bunch of the, I guess I'm just still, I'm still a little confused as to how to make Forex work for me in terms of the New York session.
okay.
Because a lot of the pairs I was watching, they already took off during London, so they're gone. Like I had a bunch of alerts set for different pairs.
Yeah.
And I come look at my computer, and like the spots I would have traded them at, it's well past that now. So like the trades essentially would have worked. I'll show you later, but yeah.
I guess what could also be done is, if you were looking at that pair, you could say, okay, well, this is my reason for selecting it, and I was going to buy or sell from here, and this happened. So
Yeah.
even if, say, you weren't able to attend or be present at that time, but at least you could confirm your reasoning to say, okay, for so and so reasons it worked or it didn't work, and if it worked, why it worked, if it didn't work, why it didn't work. So at least you have some data set you're collecting, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'll show you later. Awesome.
No worries. Okay, so Paul.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, for me, I have selected 4 pairs. That is, how can I write on that? Or I can share my screen. Is it possible I share my screen and show what I have been doing?
Sure, we can do that. At the moment, if you can simply give me your main pair that you're looking at, so we can,
Okay.
so I can jot that down. Just give me the pair and give me which direction, buy or sell.
Okay, for I'm looking at CAD check for the sell.
CAD Swiss for a sell. Okay, that's good. We can have a look at that.
And out NZD, Australian, New Zealand.
Okay, I'll talk about Aussie New Zealand in a moment, but shall we keep your CAD Swiss as your main one for now? Okay. Yes. I'll talk about Aussie New Zealand in a minute. Okay, thanks, Paul. Now, James.
Yeah, I was looking this AUD and ZD.
Which one? AUD and ZD?
Yeah, for sale.
Okay. I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll just write it down, but I'll talk about it in a minute. Okay. And Thomas?
British pound USD, Frankfurt long.
I think I could have guessed that.
Someone showed me that long bar on Friday. I'm not sure who it was, but it gave me a nice refresh, and we took it up.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Hey, Thomas, I like yours. That's never mind. I like yours.
Thank you.
Pound USD buy. Perfect. Okay. And Ryan?
I took a Aussie CAD buy during London.
Okay. Perfect. Theo?
Sorry.
No worries.
I was looking at euro dollar and Aussie Sing.
Euro dollar.
Take the trade.
Sure. Euro dollar for a sell or a buy?
Actually, I was looking more at Aussie Sing. I was looking at sell. Yeah.
Okay. Did you mean Aussie Swiss?
Aussie Sing dollar. Singapore dollar.
Aussie Singapore. Okay. Yeah, Aussie Singapore dollar for a buy or a sell?
Sell.
For a sell. Okay. All right. And Yon?
I'm looking at New Zealand sell. It is also above, I see, by James.
Yeah, it's he's got that, and so does Paul, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
No worries. Okay, that's good. Then John?
I chose New Zealand USD for a buy.
Okay. Cool. And Donald?
I'm going with the Aussie CAD since my Euro USD left last night. So,
Okay.
so Aussie CAD for a buy.
Aussie CAD for a buy. And you had Euro USD overnight?
Yeah, I didn't catch it though. I was sleeping. So
Sure. Okay.
It happens.
Yes.
it's got to stop though.
And Nicholas? Chris, you're on mute.
My fault. USD CAD is the only one I would trade right now in the New York session, but I have some others that I would have traded, but sleeping again.
Sure. USD CAD for buy or sell?
Buy.
For
Buy.
Okay. And Abdul Qadir? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I was looking for New Zealand CAD for buy.
New Zealand CAD for a buy. Okay. 10. I think I've covered everyone, right?
Yes.
Okay. Before we have a look at these, let's have a very quick look at the calendar. That should be what we need to do on a daily basis. It's the beginning of the week, so let's have a quick look at the whole week, so we have an understanding of what's coming. The reason for that is when you're looking at pairs and let's say it's developing, sometimes it's also developing with the news in mind. So let's say it's developing, and then it completes its development more towards Wednesday because there is, let's say, interest rate coming out for the US, or CPI because so-and-so is coming out in so-and-so session. So always keep in mind your pair, your setup in contrast with what news is coming out during that week. Yeah, it really helps you to stay focused and be a bit more calmer in case you see, okay, well, it's not going yet, or it's not doing a trap yet, all that will help you with the timing. So if we have a look at the whole week, so there was some pound news that came out in the morning or at Frankfurt, and all that is done. Whatever is left for today is more low impact news remaining for the day. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. However, Tuesday, there is some more pound news at Frankfurt, CPI news for Euro, German specifically, and CPI news are big these days. they're equally as big as interest rate these days. Yeah, so keep that in mind, and we can talk about it if you all need to understand what CPI is, why is it more important these days, and so on. We can talk about that. Just let me know though. Yeah. Or I'll talk more about it when we do correlation. Okay, I can cover that in correlation. Okay, and then there is also some Euro economic sentiment, so that's also important. All right, and then again tomorrow there is BOE speech, and then there is for pound, and there is CPI for USD. That's very big, extremely big. They're all CPIs, and then yen high impact news around Asia. So tomorrow is a very busy day. Wednesday, there is pound CPI at Frankfurt, so that's big. There is crude oil, high impact, and there is US interest rates on Wednesday. So again, huge day on Wednesday. Thursday, there is employment change for Aussie in Asia. There is Swiss interest rate, so huge. This is coming out half an hour after London opens. And there is interest rate for pound, midday London. So almost 4 hours after London opens. And there is interest rates for euro as well. Yeah. And seems like they're all looking to increase interest rates. That's looking to increase interest rates. That's looking to increase interest rates. And I assume
it's very good.
Yeah, it's very good, but there's more to it. You have to combine it with CPI from here on. It's very important to combine it with CPI, and maybe I'll talk about this a bit more today if we have the chance. Yeah. Okay. And then there is some other additional USD high impact news and a bit more Euro speeches happening on Thursday. Then Friday, there is pound high impact news at Frankfurt, more German PMI, so Euro high impact news, and some further PMIs for pound, Euro CPI coming in on Friday. So the whole week is massively busy, very busy, right? So that's good. Just need to keep an eye on them and then time in with your setups. Okay, now let's keep that in mind and let's go back to our charts. Now, before we look at your trades, one thing I want to mention, which is Aussie New Zealand and Euro pound. Now, you see Aussie and New Zealand, first of all, geographical location, they're one next to each other in terms of where they are in the world. That's one thing. Secondly, they both are heavily dependent on China's economy, China's trades. Yeah. And what that means is that when Aussie improves in economy because, let's say, China is doing well or generally it's doing well, then you see New Zealand follows. New Zealand also does well. If Aussie does bad for a while, New Zealand does bad, and vice versa. If New Zealand does good, Aussie does good. If New Zealand does bad, Aussie does bad. Generally, that's the case, right? So they're both heavily positively correlated. Yeah. So what that means is if you're trading Aussie New Zealand, then your price would not go that smooth. You'll have more of a sideways movement than trending smoothness in that pair. Right? So if we have a quick look at Aussie New Zealand as a very high time frame to understand what it's been doing for the longest time. So where is it? Okay. Over here. Yeah. And I simply go to the higher time frame. I'm on the monthly right now, just to show you what sort of a story there is. There is more of a sideways movements than trending market. Yeah, that generally is the nature of Aussie New Zealand. Now, there would be some phases where there's more trending market. Let's say there is the Aussie is a bit weaker than New Zealand for a short time. Maybe it's happening now, whatever the case is. But we always want to pick a pair where there is no issues generally to increase our probability on our side, if that makes sense. Right? We don't want to say, okay, well, yes, but now it's doing well. Now it's more trending. No, we want to pick a pair where generally it's doing well. Right? Are you all with me so far on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we cannot look at the 60 minutes and look at, okay, why it was picked or where the trap is. But the idea is that if you were to look at it from a bigger point of view, you won't get that smoothness. Or even if, say, you have let's say you have a refresh and you're looking to sell that secondary, then the way it goes and performs may not be as smooth as you would like it. So if you're in it and you really like it, then when that happens, don't be surprised. Just say, okay, I understand why it's happened. As long as you understand the nature of how Aussie New Zealand is generally. Yeah. Now, the same thing goes for Euro Pound. If we go back to Euro Pound, and this is the hourly, and if we look at the monthly to understand what Euro Pound is, again, you have months and months of sideways movements, right? The whole thing is right now a sideways movement. Why is that? Because for the longest time, the UK economy has been part of the Eurozone. So what that means is all the trade agreements within the Eurozone was the same trade agreements for the UK. So any, say, increase or improvement in the Eurozone would have a positive correlation on the UK and so on. However, for a few years now, the UK has come out of the Eurozone. Brexit has happened, but UK is still negotiating its trade agreements with other countries. And that takes some time to, come into place and for them to be more independent. So until that happens, and when that happens, then you'll see there's less correlation between the two. However, geographically, they're also next to each other. So that also plays a role. Yeah. So let's keep that in mind as well. All right. So let's have a look at what you have today. And the way I would like to do it is, I'll mention it in a minute. Let's have a quick look at, let's see, you got CAD Swiss, Pound USD, Aussie CAD, Aussie Singaporean, New Zealand. Okay, let's have a quick look at CAD Swiss, and we can look at the rest in a minute. So CAD Swiss, starting from the 60. Now, there's one thing I want to mention for now, which is if we straight away come on the 60 minutes and we say, oh, I like that downtrend. and that downtrend, let's say, gives you, your last seller gives you a refresh, primary, secondary for you to sell, right? What it simply means is that you are looking to sell this, assuming that your level below is very far away, because you haven't even looked at what's on the higher time frame. You haven't even looked at what this move down belongs to, right? So you're simply saying that, okay, I'm assuming that the level is far away, I'll just sell it. So of course, that could be one option if you want to keep things simpler and simply play by probability. But if you want to understand the bigger story, to say, okay, I want to have a higher accuracy, I want to know what the bigger bias is, and I want to make sure that if I'm selling this, I'm also selling with the bigger boy. Then for that, you will have to open up the higher time frame to understand the bigger story. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that case, what I want you to do is I want you to say, okay, I know I have a trending market at the moment on the 60. I don't want to look at how to enter this at this stage. I simply want to confirm that, do I have a trending market on all higher time frames, so I can confirm that even the bigger story is a downtrend, so I can park that bigger story to say, okay, that bigger story is downtrend and it's going to remain downtrend for a while, for the longest time. So I can simply focus on, okay, I have a setup, I'll trade this. I have a refresh, I'll trade this as a sell. Yeah. Okay. So in that case, what we will do from here on when we're looking at the charts is we start from the 60, and I want you to look at the bigger picture first, and I'll help you do that. And then once we say, okay, the bigger story is a sell bias, or the bigger story is a buy bias, then we say, okay, all that is done. We don't look at it anymore. And we now look at how do we enter this trade. And then we come back to, okay, do I have a refresh to sell this, or I still have to wait? Yeah? You all good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, Paul, let's start with this. So you've got left to right. Let's talk about what you see on this time frame, and then let's go up time frames, but then with a purpose. And I'll help you look for that purpose before we go. So what do you see on the 60 minutes as of yet? Paul, can you hear me?
Okay, for 1 hour, it is in a downtrend.
Okay. All right. Downtrend. And what sort of a downtrend do you see at the moment? Do you see a healthy downtrend? Do you see it?
Extended one. It is overextended.
Overextended?
Going down for
Okay. Now, if you get an opportunity to sell this, what's your worry at the moment?
right now, I don't know the level for the higher price frame, because we haven't gone to a higher price frame to know where the levels are.
Very good. So one thing you can always see is that as it's coming down, right, on this end, there is no high volume coming in to give you some worry. That's something you can always keep in mind. There's no high volume where it's telling you, oh, watch out, there could be a level coming in. However, if you were to sell this, then you're saying, well, I want to make sure that my targets or my level is far away, so it doesn't give me any problems. When the sell comes in, it goes in nice and smooth, right? So first thing first, you're looking to see where your level is at the bottom. That's why you're going to the higher time frame. So you're going to the higher time frame for a reason. What's the other reason? What else do you think you or anyone else thinks could be a good reason to go to the higher time frame?
Fair, big. If it's downtrend,
The level below you, right? In this case.
Level below you is the first piece, yes. What else you were saying, Abdul Qadir?
if it's part of this downtrend or this one time frames is part of the
Yes. Yes. So the other piece is that you're saying, is this the only downtrend at the moment, or is this downtrend part of a bigger downtrend as well? Like, is the bigger story a downtrend as well? Why? Because you don't want to be, say, thinking of it as a sell bias if, let's say, for example, this is a move down, but the bigger picture says it's only a pullback to buy. Yeah, although right now the way it's coming down doesn't show you it's a pullback, right? It's a nice healthy move down. Yeah, but you still want to confirm it on the higher time frame to make sure that, okay, you are with the big seller on the higher time frame as well. Okay, now please do talk back to me so at least I can gauge. Otherwise, I feel you all are confused, and then I have to stop over here to make sure no one's confused. So do talk back to me. Please, if you all unmute and then talk back to me, so at least we can all make it a bit more interactive. Yeah. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say, find what the level below us is. That's the first thing. Second thing is understand if the higher time frame is also a bigger seller, or are we going against the bigger, higher big boy? That's the second thing. And then you can tell it belongs to a higher time frame because you see when it comes down, a pullback comes in, comes down. There are big gaps still within all these pieces. So you say, okay, well, if there are big gaps, then there's some sort of a higher time frame influence on it as well. So let's open up that higher time frame. Yeah. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll put so when we go to the 4 hours, we see what we were seeing early on, and we don't lose track of that. Jon, you had a question?
No, I wanted to say that we should see the story of a higher time frame.
Yes.
And I don't know which time frame, 2 time frames higher or 1.
So we'll go systematic. We'll go from 60, okay. We'll go to the higher time frame. However, at this stage, on the 60 minutes, there's nothing that tells us it's not a downtrend. There's nothing that worries us. So when we go from the 60, we're going with a sell bias concept as we go higher. And the higher we go, if there's any time frame that says to us, no, it's not a sell bias, it's so and so, then we have to readjust. But we are right now going with a sell bias from the 60 to the 4 hours. Okay. Shall we go 4 hours?
Yes.
Okay. So on the, what's this? Don't know what this is. I don't know what this line is.
I think that's your drawing, isn't it?
Is it my drawing? If I do this? No. That's weird. Anyway, that's weird. But just ignore that because that's my 200 MA, that's my 50, that's my 20. I have no idea what this is. It's never happened before.
Ali, go to 60. See if you can erase it on 60.
It's not there.
There's no,
man.
yeah.
Not, yeah. And
I
4
think it was
hours.
just Zoom drawing.
Okay, it's gone. Yeah, I tried to delete it, but it wouldn't go. But it's gone now, so that's good. It's gone now. Yeah, so let me go back to 60 and redraw.
Yeah, 20, 200 maybe.
Yeah, but it seems like it's gone now, so that's good. So I'll go back to my 60, I'll draw this. And we can go to the 4 hours. Okay, so Paul, what do you see right now on the 4 hours? And does your sell bias change now? So what do you see from left to right?
I would say the sell. Still sell.
So I don't hear you well.
I would say this is still to the sell.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct. So Paul, if I was to ask you from left to right over here, what do you see? How would you now begin to read that 4 hour chart?
I would start maybe from that top. Let me draw that top. I would start maybe from here, where the bias, the last one, gave up.
Okay. If you start from there, then you will miss out on that information. So if you start from here, you can simply say there's some sort of a move coming down and a deeper piece coming up before it crashes down. Crashes down, begins to hold at this area and begins to break down after that. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that your 60 minutes sell bias hasn't changed. Why? Because on your 4 hours, it's still a downtrend. However, that downtrend comes in with a bit more information. Why? You have a move down, you have some sort of a deeper refresh or retracement as part of that move down, and with a big gap when it comes back to hold, and then drop. What that means, whenever you have, so this is more to do with reading your charts. Whenever you have such a big piece with a big gap, but then after that you have prices coming down with smaller gaps. You see, there's all smaller gaps. What that means is when you go to your higher time frame, when you go to your daily in this case, right, or even higher, we'll see which one this belongs to. It will be, this piece here will be some sort of a break of that move above. And it will make more sense when we go to the higher time frame. This is some sort of, this piece here will be some sort of a break of that move above. Whatever the case is, we say it's still a downtrend. That hasn't changed. We still have to go to the higher time frame to understand what these gaps are, understand the bigger story, and see where that level is below us. We can't see it yet, right? So it doesn't change anything in terms of our biasness, in terms of we still have to go even higher to understand the bigger story. That hasn't changed. But one thing which is good, that the bias that we had for a downtrend hasn't gone away. It's still a downtrend bias we can maintain as we go to the daily. Are you all with me so far?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Let's extend that and take it even higher to the daily. And I'll put a line at the bottom for that level that we're trying to look for. Now, if we go to the daily now, okay, now what do we have, Paul?
we're still having the downtrend.
Okay, so if you read it from left to right, what do you see?
Mhm. You can see that the buyers from the 1 day, from daily, they were all here, from here, going up. Then came so I can say from this zone, that is where from the daily, the downtrend starts.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's do this. From your left-hand side, you have some sort of a move happening. So some sort of prices going up, going then sideways, coming in deep. We're saying, what is this piece that's not launching? If it's an uptrend, why is it not doing this? Yeah. Then it begins to go, but completely reverses. So you see it begins to go up, completely reverses, begins to hold, it comes in even deeper. And this is some sort of an underside of these areas to break down. So we have some sort of a move that was going up, that reversed, went sideways, dropped, underside, broke down. Are you all with me so far?
Yes.
We're simply reading what the higher time frame could be, but it's giving us some clues. Yeah. Now, on the previous time frame, I said to you that whenever you have breaks of areas, then prices begin to go fast, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we go back to that 4 hours where we said, I have a big gap over here, but after that, it begins to have smaller gaps and goes fast in comparison to that big gap. So we say, okay, this could be some sort of a break happening of an area or a level over here on the higher time frame. So if we go to the higher time frame, on the daily in this case, we say, yes, it's trying to break something over here. You see all that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Andy, it looks like a refresh on a daily or whatever time. Yeah, daily, right? The last
It's
part. The last part.
I don't see your drawing yet. You mean this piece over here? Oh,
the whole thing.
Yeah, that one is still a break of a massive thing, and there's no. If we were to say, okay, well, a refresh has come in, there's no refresh that's coming in at the moment.
Toward the downside.
Yeah. There hasn't been one yet, but it's still a break of a massive piece. So let's understand it even further. Yeah. So we still have big gaps. We say, all right, big gaps, a break has come in. We don't see a level at the bottom, so we still have to go to the higher time frame to understand what we're dealing with. Keep one thing in mind is we will not be trading the higher time frame. We're simply coming to the higher time frame to understand what the bigger piece is, what the bias is, before we say bias story is parked. Now we begin to look at how do we trade this. We're not even doing that yet. Yeah, is everyone good so far?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So after a break, price usually go faster. Is that are you saying?
Yes. Because to break this whole level or area, it needs to be fast.
So what we have to look is that is there any recent break or not should be observed.
What was that, James?
So before taking any trade in daily, we have to look which level is going to break or going to already broken.
Okay, so what you need to keep in mind is this, that on the 60 minutes you saw a downtrend, correct? On the 4 hours, you also saw a downtrend. On the daily, you are seeing this piece, this drawing, this box that we have is for the daily. You are seeing this and then a drop. What it means is that if you simply go with the 60 and 4 hours downtrend, you're assuming that the whole bigger picture is a downtrend. However, it's not the case. Why? Because the bigger picture says to you, you have some sort of an area above, and this downtrend is simply breaking through that area. Right? So then the question is will that keep on going down? Will there be some sort of an underside first before it goes? You see, there's so much that could be coming, and then we will get stuck on ourselves if we assume it's going to go. Yeah. And at the stage, we don't even know what the level is below. Has it already reached before it begins to react? So we have to answer all that before we get involved. Whatever the case is, we know that the downtrend we were seeing is only on the smaller time frames and not the bigger time frame at this stage, before we understand what this whole piece is. Yeah. Okay, let's now understand what are we dealing with as a bigger picture. So let's do this and go to the weekly. Okay. What do we have on the weekly?
We are at the level, no, down at resistance.
Start from the left and go to the right.
Yeah.
Of the chart.
What do you see from here to here?
Range.
Be a channel.
Maybe a channel or a range.
Okay. Okay, so let's take it piece by piece. And this is where you can begin to use your MAs a bit more efficiently. And that's all we use MAs for generally. So you see how right now the MA is over here, that 200 MA is over there, and prices are somewhere here. It simply is telling you that it's in a downtrend because prices are all below that 200 MA, but there's some sort of a drop that's happened that we cannot see right now. We will see when we go to the higher time frame. A strong drop that's happened. That's why prices are so far away from that 200 MA. And it will make sense when we go to the higher time frame that prices are far away from this MA, shows there's some sort of a drop that's happened that moved the price away, or it just slipped down fast, moving it away from the higher time frame MA. So we'll keep that in mind. What happens after is begins to go up sideways, 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 and then continues down. So that downtrend is maintained, but it's a messy one because you have a big sideways, belongs to a higher time frame still because you have gaps and huge range, but it resolves down and a deeper refresh comes in and it's coming down at the moment. Are you all with me so far?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what your weekly is telling you, that your disconnect of, is it a downtrend, is it not, because of this piece that came in on the daily, is now switching back to saying, no, this whole thing is still a bigger downtrend. So your sell bias has come back in. Yeah, all good so far?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the monthly. one thing before we go to the monthly is that price which is coming down, it's
Getting near the bottoms.
Yeah, and it's going through a level, it's going through an area already, and it's approaching these areas. So we say we are beginning to see what's below us. Yeah, we're beginning to see what's below us. So that's very important. I'll come back to that in a minute. Okay.
Just trying to become a trader.
Okay, let's go to the monthly. Okay, so on the monthly, what do you see?
Range.
From left to right, what do you see?
It's downtrend.
Downtrend, right? So we say, very good. The downtrend bias is still there. Let's understand what we have though at the moment, right? But the downtrend bias is still there. So that's a good thing for us, because that means whatever sell we were trying to do on the 60 minutes, the higher time frames will also help us. Yeah, but let's understand what we have on the higher time frame at the moment. So before we start, I want to take your attention back to what we saw on the weekly. Weekly, we said, look how far the price is from that MA. Keep an eye on this when we go to the monthly. You begin to see that prices were coming down sharp. That's why we were seeing prices far away from the MAs, because they were coming down sharp. That's the information you get even before you come to the monthly to understand. Yeah, so that's one thing. However, what do we have here? We have a similar thing, which is we have prices over here, which is far away from that 200 MA. So there seems to be some sort of a strong move down, which is also, moved so far or dropped hard at one point. So we say, okay, that's good. It seems like there is some sort of a strong momentum down. We'll confirm it once we go to a higher time frame, but there seems to be a strong momentum down. That's the lowest point. Some sort of a refresh comes in and begins to resolve down. And right now, it's in that sideways movement at the moment, within that downtrend. Yeah, so far so good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now let's quickly open up the higher time frame, just so we can confirm these things, whatever we discussed. One thing you could do is you could simply stop at the monthly and not go any higher. That is one thing you could do, but there's no harm in simply going to 3 months or 6 months just to understand what this move is. And we say, okay, well, now the whole big story bias that we need to do on CAD Swiss that we've done today, we don't need to do it for the next few months, if not a year, because the higher time frame does not change. Yeah, so that, if I go back to the monthly, that piece where we said there seems to be a strong drop because look how far price is from that MA. If I go to the higher time frame, you could see strong drops prior to where price is. Yeah, you all good with that so far?
Yes.
Okay, so even the highest point, we come to a point where there's no more data. There's a dinosaur, there's no more data that shows that's the beginning of the data, right? Or historical, as they call it. That's the very first point where you start your data from. It simply shows a nice move coming down, and there's a sideways movement towards the bottom of that move down. Okay. So what that means is that our overall bias on CAD Swiss, we can put a note to say it is sell biased and stick it on, or put a note, use this one maybe, on CAD Swiss to say sell bias. We don't even have to go back to redo this. It's done once, and for a long time, we don't have to change anything on this one. Right? Now we say, okay, well, if that's the case, what do we do next with it? How do we trade this? Right? So any sells we do would be with the flow. Any buys we do would be counter trend. That's what it means. Yeah. And remember one thing, that when you have a counter trend buy coming in, then with these higher time frames, your counter trend can play out for a longer time because it belongs to a much higher time frame. Then the counter trend buys would be there for a while until it rolls over and then comes down. We'll talk about this a bit more properly. However, the whole idea is that with the higher time frames, counter trends could be a nice buy for some time before it resolves back down. And we'll talk about some examples on this. Now, if I say to you, your overall is a down bias, that's your big piece, and you know right now you are sitting within that
range.
Yeah. Now within that range, what do you have at the bottom? Where's price right now within the range?
Near the bottom.
It's near the bottom. Yeah. So this is what you have to keep in mind. First of all, what's happened, or what's been happening in the last few years, is that the whole market, especially the Forex market, has had, or economies have had, low interest rates. Low interest rates simply means it removes away any liquidity in the market. If it removes away liquidity in the market, that means your trending market goes away. It goes more sideways. Yeah, when you have less liquidity, that means your trending market is less and it's more sideways movements until the liquidity comes back. Now, what's happening these days in the last few months is that interest rates are being increased, correct?
Yes.
So we are assuming, we're hoping that the trending market does come back. You see, there's a lot of markets, a lot of pairs, you see that prices have begun to break below the lows. If I quickly show you, for example,
British pound USD.
Yes, that's definitely a good example. If we look at pound USD, that's the lowest point, and a few months ago it broke that low point because interest rates and liquidity are coming back in. Yeah. Now, same thing has happened with, for instance, Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss is now beginning to break below these lows that are very old, but they're beginning to break below those lows. Yeah. So keep one thing in mind, that the liquidity seems to be coming back. However, we are dealing with a much higher time frame, so we have to be very careful in terms of what do we do next. Now, if I was to ask you this question, that you're in a downtrend and you are right now at the bottom of a range, what's your game plan? Without me even talking about it at the stage, I'll jump in, but what's your game plan? What are you thinking right now?
I was thinking.
And aside.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry, Paul.
That's all right. No, go ahead. John, you said stand aside? Or was it Ryan? Can you
Sorry,
all
that
hear
was
me?
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Donald? Was it Donald?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Okay. That could be an option. Okay. What else? What else would you be thinking at this stage?
Buy.
So the trend is down. The trend is down. You're in sideways market. So what you wanted to do with the trend is you want to be short, but you're at the bottom right now. So for right now, you can't really do anything, but you can eat between the ranges. This is a monthly. This is a very long range.
Yes. Yes. So that's good. So as long as you know that you are in a big downtrend, however, at the moment you are in the sideways movements, which if you look at the sideways movements, what's happened is, guys, if someone can go on mute, there is a bit of a noise. Thank you. Yeah. So even that sideways movement, you could see that, okay, prices held, tried to break down. Okay, now it's coming back to come down fast. Is this going to